Hi everyone, I'm Gina K from Gina K Designs and your host of Stamp TV. Today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you a fun little square card made using the new Painted Autumn StampTV Kit. Let me show you the tools and supplies you're going to need to make this card project. First, you're going to need some ink, and I'm using the Gina K Designs ink. And as you can see, I have them all stored in one of the Tim Holtz tins. Now these tins are great for storing the mini distress cubes as well as a variety of other small square ink pads, and the Gina K Designs inks fit perfectly in there. So what I have here is a collection of some of my favorite inks that I'm using this time of year. I've got all of the colors from the new StampTV kit along with a few additional ones, and I have a VersaFine ink cube as well. Also, the Versamark ink cubes will fit in here, and this is a great way to store your Gina K Designs ink cubes. We sell 42 different colors of ink cubes, and they will all fit in 4 complete tins with a few extra spaces left over for things like VersaFine, Versamark, and a few other cubes that you might have in your collection. So the colors that I'm going to use today are the Turquoise Sea, Blue Lagoon, Ocean Mist, and then I'm going to use some Jelly Bean Green, some fresh asparagus, and I'm going to use my VersaFine ink for the greeting. So I'm going to put the rest of these away. And just so you know, we are now selling these in our online store at GinaKDesigns.com. So this way, if you're picking up some of the ink cubes, you can grab one of these containers to store them in. They make a great travel piece. I can fit all of my ink cubes in just 4 of them, and I can take my entire collection of ink with me wherever I go, so I'm really enjoying these. Okay, other things you're going to need for this card. You're going to need some layering weight ivory cardstock, just 1 piece, but I always cut an extra just in case. You're going to need some of our dark chocolate ink, dark chocolate cardstock, and some of our heavy base weight cardstock. Then I'm using some of the Inkadinkado stamping mask paper. And this is a way to create masks so that you can cover up images and then stamp over them to create the look of having images behind other images. And I'm going to show you that today. I'm actually using both stamp sets from the new kit today for this card. I'm using the circle stamp, and that has the little stitched edge. And then I'm also going to use the flowers from the Painted Autumn stamp set, along with the Give Thanks greeting. So, to begin, I'm going to use this piece of 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 inch layering weight ivory cardstock. And I'm going to start by putting a few stamps on my blocks. So I just brought over a variety of different acrylic blocks here. And I'm going to start with the 2 base stamps for this flower set. So I have a large base and I have a small base. So I'm going to use both of those. Let me put my stamps back over here. I'm going to use both of those. And then I am going to create a mask for my stamping. So I'm going to take a piece of the masking paper and some of the Ocean Mist ink. You can use any color ink for your masking paper, but I'm going to use the same one that I'm going to use on the card, so this way I don't have to worry about cleaning my stamp in between. Okay, so I've inked that up, and I'm going to stamp one of those, and then I'm going to stamp 2 of the larger flower bases. These little ink cubes are so much fun because you can have so many colors. And I love having a lot of colors to play with, especially when I'm doing a lot of 2 and 3 step stamping. It's nice to have a wide variety of colors. So then you're going to trim these out using a pair of scissors. And they're pretty easy to cut out. They don't have to be absolutely perfect. And make sure you save the rest of your masking paper because you never know. You might want to mask off some leaves a little later, and this masking paper is great for all kinds of masking techniques. So you're just going to fussy cut around the outside, and you can see this is pretty easy to do. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can let a little bit of white show. You really just want to make sure that you have something blocking the majority of this flower when you're stamping things like other flowers on top, leaves and vines. So now this masking paper has a sticky side on one side and a papery side on the part that you stamped on. But the sticky side is not very sticky at all. It's just tacky, so you can lay it right on top of your stamped images with no fear that it's going to ruin your image when you pull it off. In fact, it's very similar to a Post-it note. It's just that I know Post-it notes now make complete sticky paper where the whole entire thing is sticky, and that's a little bit better, but I do really like that the whole piece is sticky or tacky, not super sticky. Okay, so there, I've got my mask. And the nice thing about cutting out a mask is it's reusable, so you can reuse this over and over and over again. And then you would cut the other two out, so I've already pre-done those, so I'll just bring those over here. And then you want to peel off the backing. There's some little backing on here that protects that. And then what I do is when I'm done stamping, I just take that little plastic sheet that holds my stamp sets and I just stick it onto there and save it with my stamp sets. So my masks are always ready to go. They do wear out after a while, so you will have to make some new ones, but you can get quite a few cards out of them. So I'm just gonna, and you'll see they don't really stick too much. They just kind of lay on top and just kind of cling on a little bit. So let me get this off here. It's another one, and then the last flower. I always just bend it a little bit, and that separates one of the petals, and then it makes it easier to pull that backing off. Okay, so now we're going to start with that piece of ivory cardstock, and I'm going to stamp a couple of these flowers, actually 3. I'm going to do 2 of the larger ones, and then the small one. So one of the larger ones I'm going to put way up here in the corner, about here. And then one of them, and then I'm going to turn the stamp. I want the stamp to be in different directions so that the flowers aren't all facing exactly the same way. So this one I'm going to stamp down here a bit, like about here. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp the smaller one up in this corner. You can see how nicely the ink cubes work. They're very juicy. So let's do this one up here like this. Okay. So that's my first color, the Ocean Mist. Now my second color is going to be the Turquoise Sea. But before I do that, I'm going to do some masking. So I'm going to grab my little masking papers, and I'm going to look for those 3 little lumps on the flower to cover up this flower. That's pretty good. Might be able to get that a little bit better over here. There we go. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing, find those 3 little lumps together and line them up. There's like 3 little petals that are all together on one little thing, and that's a great way to line everything up on this set. And if you haven't stopped by our freebies page at StampTV.com, stop by, because we've got a chart on there of how to line these up properly, and then we have a chart on there of all different color combinations that you can use to make your flowers. So now I'm going to use the circle stamp, and I'm going to stamp that with the fresh asparagus ink. So let me ink that up real well. I tried this with black, but I liked it better with the dark green. Now I do have to stand right over this to get this in the center, so if my head gets in the way, I apologize. But I want that right in the center of my card, like that. Now you do want to put a little bit of extra pressure because now you have this tiny thin little layer of masking paper over there, and you want to make sure that your stamp gets good contact with the rest of the cardstock. Okay, now my next step is going to be to add some vines. So I'm going to grab the vine stamp, and then again I'm going to use the fresh asparagus ink. You can see that's already coming up. Probably if I waited a little bit longer for the ink to thoroughly dry, that wouldn't come up as much, but it doesn't bother me, and it's not bothering my work here. All right, I'm going to add a little vine. Let's see, right here. There's one. Then I'm going to add another vine. Kind of coming down over here. And we'll add one on this side of the flower, over here. And you can add more than one vine if you want to a flower. You can connect them. Just find a spot that you'd like to connect them and just connect them together somehow. Kind of like this. And then we'll do one up in this area. Right about here. Okay. So now that I have that done, my next step is going to be to add some insides to that vine. And that's this little stamp. You can see the little leaves on there. I'm going to do that one using some of the jelly bean green ink. That's a much brighter, lighter ink. So we'll ink this stamp up with jelly bean. And we'll stamp that right there. Stamp this one. It's pretty easy to see through on the clear stamps where you're supposed to line it up, but these stamps are very sketchy looking and very watercolory looking, so if they don't line up perfectly, don't worry about that. It's still going to look beautiful. Put this one here, and we'll do this last one. Down here. All right. So let me just clean up my work area a little bit because I didn't bring a piece of scrap paper to work on. So we'll get that ink out of the way. Okay. Now we're going to add some of the bigger leaves in here. So I'm going to start with the solid one, and that's going to be jelly bean as well because this is going to be your lighter ink. I'm just going to do a two-step stamping on this particular flower, this particular leaf. So we've got one there. We'll do one here. Let's do one up here. And we'll make another one coming off of that right about, get my masking paper down, and right about here. Okay. And we'll add the outline to that leaf next using the outline stamp. And again, don't worry too much if it's not perfect. We'll Ink that up with some fresh asparagus. Let's see where that should go, about here. One up there. I'll tell you, this 2 and 3 step stamping is just so much fun. And every time you do it, it'll look a little different and it'll all be spectacular. So have fun with it and try lots of different color combinations. Okay, so there's all my green stuff. Now I'm going to take the masks off the flowers and finish the different steps of the flowers. So there's the flowers, and you can see when you pull the masks off, all those leaves all of a sudden go behind the flowers. Isn't that cool? All right, so now we're going to use the bold, larger stamp, the second part of that, and we're going to do that with Turquoise Sea. So to line this up, I'm looking for these 3 little bumps, and then I'm going to match that up with these 3 little bumps right there. Just kind of line that up and stamp. It's so crazy that even when it's not perfectly spot on, they just look so pretty. I'm going to do the same thing down here. If you're always looking for those 3 little bumps on the flowers, you'll line them up pretty well. And then I'm going to use the same step for the smaller stamp, and that's this one. And these stamps are identical, they're just reversed, so they're very easy. Once you know how to line up one side, you can line up the other side the same way. All right, and we'll do that one here. Okay, and now we're going to put that final stamp on there. So we'll do the big one first, and we're going to do that one with Blue Lagoon, my last color of blue. This is the darkest of the 3 turquoisey blues in our collection. So this one, this little line right there is going to go right along this little line of the 3 bumps. Once you have that lined up, you're pretty good. Like that. And we'll do this one. And then we'll do the final one, the smaller version. And again, lining that little line right there up around that where the 3 little bumps are. Okay, so now we have our beautiful bouquet. Now I'm going to grab the greeting, and I want to kind of look at this and see where I should put it. I want to put it kind of on an angle here. And it's very swirly. I mean, you know, you could do it this way too, but I kind of like that on an angle, just like that in there. Now, if you don't like it on an angle, you can make your square bigger and do the flowers more toward the outside of this circle. But because it's that hand-lettered style, I think it looks really good even when it's tilted like that. So I'm using some VersaFine for this because it is a greeting and I do want it to be really, really crisp. So that's going to go right in here. Give that a second to transfer. And there's my greeting. Now, I'm going to layer this card up. Let me put my little masks away, because I'll be using them again for sure. All right. So I have a piece of dark chocolate here that's going to go behind this panel. And then the whole card front is going to go onto my ivory card base. So let me make sure that that's nice and flat. Okay. Right. And that's going to go right there. And I know a lot of you have sequins in your collection. I found these cute little jelly bean soup sequins in kind of a vibrant green. They look a lot like our jelly bean green. So, and these actually are self-stick. So I'm going to pop one here. Put a little one right in there. And then I'm going to do another one right down there. I like to do things in threes. So that is my finished card project. So you know I've told you about how to mail a small square card, and I've always said to just maybe use an A2 envelope to save on shipping. And the way you do that is you just slip it into the A2 size envelope and then add another little piece of cardstock in there that's a quarter sheet of cardstock, and that will kind of prevent the card from moving around. It'll also prevent the envelope from getting squished and keep it more rigid. That will save you a little bit of postage. But if you are looking to give a card, a square card to somebody and you want to hand deliver it, or maybe you really want those square envelopes, I'm going to show you how to make a square envelope out of a regular envelope, and it looks so cute. It's so easy. And now, once you learn this technique, all of the Gina K Designs envelopes you have in your collection can be A2 size or they can be square. So here's a pack of our Turquoise Sea envelopes, and we have, I think, about 36 different colors in envelopes to match our different colors of cardstock. Well, this is a regular A2 size, and what you're going to do is take your A2 size envelope and your paper cutter, and you're going to cut just 1/4 of an inch off on each side. So this envelope measures 5.5 or 5 3/4 inches. I'm going to take it down to 5.5 on one side, and I'm going to flip it around and then take it down to 5 1/4 on the other side. Now we can look at that and make sure that that looks good. Okay, I think we can go a little bit smaller, but you should always test before you actually do the cutting. So we're going to go down to 5 inches. Let me take a look inside there. Yep, 5 inches. And then 5 1/4 inches. So now that we know the measurement, we know we can take a 1/2 inch off either side. And this is what's going to be left inside. Can you see that? Okay. So now, let me get my paper cutter out of the way. We've taken a 1/2 inch off of either side, and I just wanted to test it because I didn't want to mess it up here on the camera. And now I'm going to use some of my 1/8 of an inch score tape. You see how thin that is? And you can use any kind of double-sided sticky tape for this, but this 1/8 of an inch size is really good for this. And I'm just going to put this all the way up to the top there and just trim that little excess off. Like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Put that all the way up, right on the edge there. I'm going to pick this up so I can see it a little better. Right to the edge. And I'll put that measurement on the screen under the video over at StampTV and also on YouTube, so you'll have that. You'll have the 1/2 inch off of each side of the envelope, so you can remember, you can refer back to the video. Okay, so now that we've got that score tape on there, we're going to peel off the cover, and then we're going to fold that up just like that. Okay, you have perfect seams. You can't see anything on the side there. And then I'm going to take a quarter rounder, and this is just a little 1-inch quarter rounder from EK Success. And I'm going to cut the corners off just to finish it off. And look how cute that is. And so then your card will slip right in there. Just kind of lift it here to get the sequins in, and all sealed up. That's a perfect little square envelope. So once again, there's my finished card and my finished envelope. I hope you've enjoyed today's Stamp TV video. Stay tuned to Stamp TV for more videos, and thanks so much for watching.